In this video, we are going to make the presentation composition root. Hello, my friends again. Why we need to make presentation composition root and make the app more and more complex and make additional classes. As known, activity in Android has its own life cycle. Therefore, we need this additional composition root to make dependency injection. We have two levels. As we see in this figure, the composition root, it is at the side of app life cycle. And we need to contact with the questions list activity, which is the activity depends on and on the side of activity life cycle. So we are going to make the intermediate classes that contacts between the questions list activity and the composition root, which is called presentation composition root. So let's move to Android Studio and make this presentation as a real codes. Before we start making the presentation composition root, I need to create a new base activity in the common. So I will create a new Java class. I call it base activity. And inside this base activity, I need to make a private composition or protected composition root. Get composition root. This method will return a returning variable called a returning value called of type composition root. So get composition root, and this will return my application, and I will get here get composition get application, and I need to close it, and I need to make get composition root. Okay, now let me configure the my application class. So no need to go to the main activity, to the my application, and we see that there is no method called get activity or get application. In order to solve it, we need to extend this base activity to app compat activity. In this way, we have solved our base activity problem. Now let's go and make the classes, the activities for this. The question details activity and the questions list activity extends base activity and not extending the app compat activity. So let's start with the details activity, questions details activity. Let me go to questions details activity, and here I need to change base compat activity to base activity, which we have created, and I need to make here on my fetch details questions use case, details questions. Instead of using my application, I need to change it. I will remove this line and I will create get composition root dot get fetch questions details use case. We have made this also more and more cleaner. And in the same way, I need to make in the questions list activity, questions details list activity extends base activity. Okay, and I need in the same way to change the questions here. I need to change the my application. Where is my application? Okay, it's above. I need to change it, remove this, and I need to create get composition root dot get fetch questions list use case. So guys, we are making our application more and more cleaner and ready to made for dependency injection. Okay, this is the first step of creating and making a cleaning architecture of base activity. Now let's move and let's create the presentation composition route. Let's move to the composition route that we have created before. Composition route, where is composition route? Okay, composition route, and we see this is our class. Get fetch questions details use case, and we need to create the public dialogues manager here. Public dialogues manager, get dialogues manager, and it will get a fragment manager argument called fragment manager. I need to return new dialog manager. Okay, so fragment manager, it will be passed. So I'm making a inside the composition route this method that returns a new dialogues manager, and it get a fragment manager at its parameter. So we need to change. By this we are making also more and more clean, but remember guys, I will show you later on that this approach would be better, and this approach will violate our clean architecture. So what is the solution? We are going to see it in next couple of minutes, but pay attention for this. Let me try to use this get dialogues manager and remove the dependency of making a new dialog manager and support fragment manager. So what this means, let's move to the questions details activity. Questions details activity. Okay, here. You see guys that my dialogues manager is creating every time a new instance of dialogues manager, and we pass get support fragment manager. Okay, so one person will be asking for why we need to remove this. What is the wrong with this? As we started this video, we told you that the application has an app lifecycle and activity lifecycle. So support the fragment manager would be compromised in the composition route and sized in the app class activity, and the fragment manager will be resized in the activity class. So support fragment would be related to app class, and the fragment manager will resize into the activity class. This makes troubles for making dependency injection, and this will violate and prevent us from making clean architecture that it is ready for making dependency injection. So what is the solution? The solution is to make a dialog manager here method, and we pass the arguments from here. So despite using new dialog manager every time, and we create a new instance every time we have an error, we will create a get composition route dot get dialog manager, and I will pass now get support fragment manager. Okay, and in the same way I will make this for the questions list activity. Questions list activity here also I need to remove this and get composition root.get dialog manager and get support fragment manager. Okay, but this is a bad approach. Our application works fine, but it is not really ready for making a dependency injection in a clean architecture. So what is the solution? The solution is making use of actual factory. We will use this things called factory. So let's move and start making the use of factory. So how to create these factories and how to make the amendments. Despite using inside the composition root, let's move to the composition root. And despite using every time creating a new dialog manager and pass the fragment manager inside it, I will change this method and I will not pass this fragment, and I will create get dialogs manager factory. Dialogs manager factory, get dialog manager factory, and I will create this class. And it will return a new dialogs manager factory. Okay, so what is this dialog manager factory? Let's move and create a new dialogs manager factory. Inside the common, I will create a new class called dialogs manager factory. Okay, and this class will be responsible for making the dialogs manager new dialogs manager. Okay, and I will pass the fragment manager, and I will pass here return new dialog manager, and I will pass the fragment manager. Okay, so we have moved the dialogs manager from here, from the composition root inside the dialogs manager factory, and dialogs manager factory, click Alt plus enter to import the class and resolve all the problems. So we have created the dialogs manager factory, and inside the composition root we have created the corresponding method. Now let's move to the two activities, the list activity and the details activity, and see how to resolve these errors. See guys that I changed the orders of these tabs according to the dependency and how they will contact with each other. So the factory will create the dialog manager, the composition root will get from the manager factory, and questions details will use the composition root to create the manager, and also the list activity will use the composition root that in turns use the manager factory to create the new dialogs. I know it's a little bit confusing, but believe me guys, if you practice them and you practice by your own, and you open your Android Studio, and start practicing with yourself, it will be a very big professional, and you will be a professional Android app developer and a coder, professional coder. So let's move to get composition root. Let's move to the composition root. Here, get dialogs manager factory dot new dialog manager. I will remove this. Get dialogs manager factory. Here, get manager factory. I have written this. New dialogs manager and get supported fragment manager, it will be solve the problem. And here is simple. Okay, so again, I will copy this. I will go to the details activity and I will paste it here. That get composition root, that get dialogs manager, factory manager, and new dialogs manager, and it will solve the problem. So in this video, we have made the making use of actual factory, and we have learned how to make the presentation for composition root inside the and separating the dialogues. And in next video, we will continue with making the presentation composition root. It is I will not make it a long video, but it would be a very segmented video, like making the base activity and creating the dialogs manager. And next video, we are going to continue with presentation composition root. Thank you guys. I see you in next videos.